have about what meditation is, and instead just start to sense it as an opportunity for you to connect to the peaceful knowing within. And so let's take 3 deep breaths together. We'll hold our breath at the top of our inhale. So deep breath in and hold, sip in a little bit more. Let it go. You can just sigh out your mouth. It can feel really good to do that. And then again, deep breath in and hold, sip in a little bit more. You might shrug your shoulders up to your ears and like kind of scrunch up your face and just tighten up your body. And then exhale, release. Welcome to those of you who are just joining. And again, we'll take another deep breath in and hold, sip in a little bit more. Good. And you can tighten up, tight, tight, tight. And exhale, release. Good. And then just feel yourself arrive here in sacred space. And as we arrive in sacred space, we remember that this is our time to drop the burden. And there's a saying that every person is carrying a burden that we do not understand, we may not know. And so be kind always. And as we come into sacred space, we generate this sense of friendliness towards ourselves. As we simply put down the burden of managing a future and a past that are not here. There's nothing to plan. There's nothing to remember. There's nothing to manage. There's nothing to control. There's no need to compare or judge or criticize. Just dropping all thinking and letting yourself just be with the sanity of your breath. And the breath is always here in this moment. And so we can really trust in its capacity to connect us to a little more ease. You can even just sense what a little more ease would feel like in your body. You can come all the way into this body and relax where you're tense. Like soften your belly. Soften your skin. Soften your jaw. And maybe this next inhale can be received into a soft belly. Maybe you can just in an effortless way let your attention, let your awareness just sink. Just sink. Until you start to sense the ground receiving your weight, the heaviness of your bones. You can allow this sinking to happen without there being a collapse in the spine. So as you're sensing a sinking, also sensing an upright spine, like sensing your body having the integrity of a mountain. You don't have to search for anything. Just allowing yourself to be soothed by the in and out of your breath is enough. Rather than searching for something, instead you can sense a trusting and not doing. You don't even have to look for trust. Trust is there when you decide to settle your attention on your breath. When you choose to just let yourself be embodied. Returning to this open, spacious awareness. This relaxed, embodied presence. Whenever you notice that you wander away. So many images and impressions arise inside of your awareness. And don't try to manage any of that, any of those images or impressions that arise, often with an emotion woven through. And just soften with the images and the impressions. Just let yourself breathe through all that arises. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worth of rescue. And just because a thought arises doesn't mean that you need to think it. Many, many thoughts arise. Sometimes those thoughts take the shape of an inner evaluator, kind of always measuring us up, worried about how we're doing, if we'll make it. And to that, we can bring a caring. Instead of trying to manage and change or fix what's arising, instead just sense noticing and caring about what's noticed. And then coming back to the softness and the sanity of the breath. Relaxing back into spacious awareness. Relaxing back into the belly. What most wants attention now? Sometimes sensations in the body ask for our attention. And we can learn to extend, friendliness to our inner world of sensations, whether they're pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. It's so much easier to not get uptight about our experience if we're not believing that any part of what we're experiencing is wrong. No matter how busy the mind is or how clear it is, no matter how open or closed the heart, no matter how energized or achy the body is, it's not wrong. You might scan your body and just relax. No need to remember or rehash or compare or criticize or fantasize or anything else that you might notice the mind pulling you towards, the thinking mind. Just recommit to non-thinking. Come back to the breath. Thoughts will arise. We're just practicing not giving them attention. Now you might notice, again, just returning back to what would 5 or 10% more ease feel like right now. Often we practice returning to the well of worry unconsciously. As we keep coming back to this ease, we consciously practice returning to the well of peace. What would 5 or 10% more ease feel like? Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world, so worth of rescue. If your eyes are closed, you can blink them open. Let yourself just take in the space that you're in. Look around your room or wherever you are. And just look behind you as well. Orienting is good medicine for overwhelm. Just like looking around your space and going, hey, this is actually what's happening. Because I don't know about you, but I know in my own life and my clients too, and my students, often what gets in the way, what we're overwhelmed by isn't even happening in this moment. Yeah. Right. You can even check this out for yourself. Like there might be a something in your life that's like having you feel overwhelmed. But for most folks, it's sort of like a amorphous glob. We're not even clear maybe even about what it is or overwhelmed by. We just feel overwhelmed. And so hence today's Dharma talk topic about releasing overwhelm and opening to unconditional peace. And I have some points that I wanted to share with you about this. But before we do that, I just encourage you to take a moment to sense how you feel. Just taking time, as Martha Postlewaite talks about in the poem that I read twice in our meditation. The clearing is that poem, it's what it's called. And she says, wait there patiently. Create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently. Right? It's not easy to create a clearing. And sometimes when we meditate and when we just sit, what we're doing is sometimes we're sitting and it's wonderful, and sometimes we're sitting and it's hard. And we feel just like we're sloshing through, we're slogging through. But we can have confidence in the practice itself, just to sit down regardless of what is arising in our practice, that there is enormous benefit to just sitting still, that something tends to settle, and we can be patient with the settling with no agenda about outcome, just to set your butt down and not do anything else for a period of time makes an impact. If not in the moment of sitting, then in the moments after. And so before I dive deeper into our Dharma talk, I just want to mention that nice to see your face, Mackenzie. I just want to mention that these meditations, hi Marlene, you're in your car, you can totally turn your camera off if it's distracting. I want you to stay safe. These meditations and Dharma talks are made by donation. Of course, if you cannot make a donation, they are freely offered. No, please do not come because of finances. But your donations really make a difference. And I greatly appreciate those of you who come regularly in your donations. So you can PayPal me at Carina Chicchio. I'm also on Venmo at Carina-Nickerson and on Zelle. And I believe there's a button on the email that announced this meditation that allows you to donate via PayPal. So I just want to mention that. Another announcement that I wanted to make was that in January, please be looking out for the 5-day free masterclass that I offer every year in January called Radiant and on the Rise. And all of you here, I think, would really love that. It's all about a lot of the things we talk about here in our Dharma talks. It's all about owning and living from the radiant self. And so if you want to, have consistent peace and, consistent motivation and be clear about your purpose, all of these things are part of the radiant self. We'll be unpacking that in the 5-day masterclass coming up. So be on the lookout for that. All right. Some points to talk about with overwhelm. I thought it was interesting. I looked up the definition, and it says when we give too much of a thing to someone, and sometimes you're the one giving too much of a thing to yourself, because no one really overwhelms us, right? We kind of do a good job of doing that ourselves. We give too much of a thing to ourselves. And the way that we often do that is through the mind, is through the thinking mind. okay, I got to do this. I got to do this. Okay. It's I was noticing myself doing that, it's like, hey, we got to get the stockings, for the holidays, I mean, honestly too, just to have this conversation, it's good to have a healthy dose of gratitude, right? For being able to come to receive this talk about overwhelm and to recognize, all of the blessings that are in our lives to have us here. Because when we're in overwhelm and lost in it, often what we're not aware of are the blessings in our life. Because we're too amped up, we're too agitated, we're too focused on what's not working. And so it's interesting to just notice that that we often give ourselves too much of a thing through our unreined, unmanaged, unwatched thinking. You can only ever do one thing at a time. Like right now, you're all here. Now, are you receiving the talk and really just letting yourself be here with it? Or are you halfway here and halfway somewhere else? Are you multitasking? Like if your camera's not on, which there's no problem with that. But, it's like sometimes I'll notice myself kind of like multitasking, like checking my email as I'm listening to something. So doing too many things at once definitely overwhelms the system. It actually makes it so that we don't do anything very well. And we're doing everything half-assed, which takes a dump on our self-esteem, because there's a part of us that knows when we're not showing up as our best and it doesn't feel good. So one of the keys to working with overwhelm is full engagement. And that's actually number 3, part of releasing overwhelm. But number 1, I just wanted to start with talking about what it is. And now number 2, what we want to do is when we notice that we're caught in overwhelm, we're just managing too many things in the thinking mind. And we're not fully engaged with what's happening here and now. When we start to notice that that's what's going on and we start to feel those symptoms of overwhelm, right? Agitated, restless, uneasy, quick to anger, quick to like bite someone's head off. We might get really judgy and critical. We might start noticing how everyone else, other people, we might judge them as being lazy or not doing enough in comparison to us, right? So these are all just signs that we might be dealing with giving ourselves too much to do. And so we want to acknowledge it and forgive it for being there. And recognize the emotion that's under it. So overwhelm, when we think about it, is it more, fear, anger? It's likely fear if we really dive in and we really like dig. There's some uneasiness of fear. We're scared. We're scared that if we don't get all of the things done, or we don't get this thing, we don't take care of this thing right now, right this minute, right? So we might walk around with this sort of false urgency all the time, running on the fumes of the fight, flight, freeze response. Just right now, as you're receiving this, breathe deeply. If you recognize anything in what I'm saying in you, just like notice that, like, yeah, she's speaking to what I experience. And in that, you're recognizing how your own overwhelm kind of plays out in your life. Forgive it. And then we want to tap into the emotion under it and notice that what happens when we're lost in overwhelm is we get tunnel vision because of the nervous system kicking in. And literally what we're believing in that moment, it feels like we might die if we don't take care of it. Or we might die if things don't work out, right? Like we don't manage it if it's not perfect. And then, so we can kind of look at that and start to question it. Like, oh, it feels like something really bad is going to happen if I don't take care of this thing right this moment, but actually I'm safe. And then we drop into the emotion under it, which is likely fear. And we start to tend to the emotion, allowing it to be there and soothing it to the best of our ability. And often when we attend to the emotion under overwhelm, in the acknowledgement and the forgiveness of overwhelm and the tending to the emotion of it, something starts to shift. Something starts to loosen up a little bit. And so Tara Brach talks about the sacred pause, right? Just having not just one moment a day when we pause, but many moments of the day when we pause. And we take our worry off the altar. We take our fear off the altar. We take this lie that's present. It's not wrong, but this lie that may be present that, oh, if I don't take care of this thing right this minute, something bad is going to happen, right? We stop feeding that and we start to tune into the felt sense in the body and relax back into spacious awareness. Just this can be a helpful mantra. Just this. Meaning all I need to tend to, if I'm really devoted to a life of sanity and peace, is this thing that I'm in right now. Wherever my body is, I'm going to bring my mind and my heart online with where my body is. Right? And I'm going to just tend to that and give it my best. What's my best right now? We talked about that inquiry last week. Just what's my best right now? And let everything else go. Just this. This is part of, part 2 of acknowledging overwhelm. Now, part 3 is releasing it. Part 3 is releasing it. And one of the ways that we can work with releasing the feeling, the sense of overwhelm is asking, what is it inside of me that's disturbed? And often what we'll notice is there's just a fearful little one inside. There's a fearful one within. You don't even have to label it little. But there's a fearful one within that is disturbed, that is scared, that is frightened. And it's our responsibility as practitioners of yogis on the path to get better and better at taking care of that one within that is disturbed. Don't let her drive the freaking car of your life. Right? Like walking around freaked out all the time, or, a lot of the time is just not the way that we want to be living our life. We've only got one, and every breath is one breath less. And so releasing it comes back to asking, what is disturbed within me? Contacting that energy and mothering that energy, or taking good care of that energy rather than letting that energy run the show. Right? So sinking out of the head and into the heart and into the belly, and moving from a deeper place within you, accessing that one who knows within you that is integral. It's like deeply a part of presence. So rather than worry being on the altar, we put presence on the altar. Rather than, anything else that we might put on the altar when we're looking for love in all the wrong places. Because as painful as overwhelm is, a lot of us are very devoted to it. We give a lot of loyalty. We're very loyal to our overwhelm. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to teach a class. I got the thumbs up. I don't have to teach a class on, let's all come to a Dharma talk about how to get more overwhelmed. You don't sign up for that because y'all know how to do that easy, because we're so devoted to it. We think it's going to do something to just be caught and overwhelmed all the time. Or maybe if I'm not seeming too busy all the time, it might mean I'm lazy or I'm not a good enough person. And so really owning the places where we are attached to overwhelm because somehow it makes us feel like a worthy and worthwhile person. And really starting to question that whole thing that we do to ourselves, where we borrow worthiness and value like we compensate for perceived lack, when in fact, there's never anything missing. And our work is around remembering that continually again and again and again. So the last aspect of working with overwhelm is to contact directly the peace that's available here in this moment. It's always here when we ask the question, like, what would ease feel like? What would peace feel like? Like, I can approach this thing. I can approach my work. I can approach making breakfast for my kids. I can approach my marriage. I can approach whatever it is I'm doing from a place of like uptightness and rigidity, or I can approach it from a place of peace and ease. As long as I'm not too triggered, it's always my choice. And when I'm triggered, it's my responsibility, just like it's yours, to tend to myself, to tend to my state of being, to tend to our state of being in any moment that we're remembering it or noticing it. It's no one else's job to calm us down. It's no one else's job to like make the external world good for us so that we can finally relax. Our job is in remembering continuously, not just once a day, but continuously, I've already arrived. I don't have to be uptight and coming from fear all the time. I'm actually safe in this moment. And I can choose to approach this from peace. I can choose to approach this from ease. We always have that opportunity and we always have that choice. And so recognizing that as being a continuous devotion, right? Rather than being continuously devoted to worry or to fear or to overwhelm, not making those things wrong, but noticing when we're caught there, if they're arising inside of us, then we've got too much of a gap going on. Where we think we should be is not where we are. And we've got to close that gap. And remember that we're not behind. We're not like we shouldn't be farther ahead than where we are. You know, where we should be is right here because it is where we are. Trusting in the reality of now. And then releasing any idea that we should be somewhere else. And everyone gets to do that right now in your life. If there's a gap, and often there is, we notice the gap, and our emotional disturbances often point to it. And just closing the gap. Nothing's missing. Just this. What's my best right now? How do I want to feel? What would more peace feel like right now? You know, these are all questions that redirect us back to the place where we actually have some agency, which is right now in this moment with our state of being. Because we can't control the externals. We can to a certain degree, but a lot we can't. And so trying to find peace outside never works. But finding it here always does. And then the last thing I want to add to in terms of, in the fourth place, the fourth aspect of releasing overwhelm is sometimes it's too much, right? Sometimes it's too much. My cousin just lost somebody, and her, actually, you know, somebody very close to her in her life, the father of her children. And he just passed after a long fight with cancer. She's going through a lot. She's going through a lot that feels like it's too much for her to handle. And sometimes that's the case. And so we learn, as they say, and you know, they say this a lot in AA, the Serenity Prayer, right? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Sometimes we don't have access to like a sense of ease or peace. It seems so far away. And none of us are beyond asking for help. Help. It said it was the first prayer. Whatever your belief system might be, you can put it on the altar. Anything that's too hard for you to handle, just acknowledging, I can't. It's too much for me right now. I can't handle this. I give it up to the divine. I give it to the wisdom of nature. Like I have a client whose access to the divine is through nature, right? And so like giving it to the trees, giving it over to, the divine as we sense it. And the last little trick is a little box, right? It's been called like a God box. So I know that word God is loaded for some people. So please use whatever word works for you. But I taught my kids to use this, where you put your worries in a box. You're worried about something, you can write it on a piece of paper and you put it in the God box. And so you might get to have a God box too. And you might call it something different. But we get to realize that when something's too hard, we can ask for help, either from a trusted friend or a mentor or a guide or a teacher or a family member. Or, we can put it in a box, or we can say a prayer and let it be taken from us, not to carry this burden that we can't manage anymore. We just don't know what to do about it. And so surrendering it, giving it up to something greater. All right, loves, those were the 4 pieces I wanted to talk about with overwhelm, releasing overwhelm. Just a quick review. The first thing I talked about, what it was. Remember, giving too much of a thing to someone. And we talked particularly when we do that to ourselves. Like when I give my kids too many things to do at once, they're like, whoa, wait, just one thing at a time. 2, acknowledging it. Right? Just acknowledging when overwhelm is happening. And I talked about some of the emotional markers that can give us a clue that it's in operation. 3, releasing it, getting to the emotion under it. Right? And then 4, contacting the peace and presence. And then using tools, like we can use words, just this. What's my best right now? And then I talked a little bit about the God box for those things that it's just beyond us. We can't figure it out. We don't know how to handle it. It's needs to be given up to something greater. All right. So I'd love to hear in the chat, let me know what your biggest takeaway was. Oh, and I didn't ask your aspiration or your intention. Darn, I usually do that. Oh, well, next time. What was your biggest takeaway from our talk today? Last thing I want to mention is I don't know if it's been released yet, but I see some of you yoga teachers in the house here. I am offering a holiday. It's a Healer Rising Success Kit. It's got lifetime access to the Thriving Healer, the 3 keys to attracting aligned private clients, and a private medicine clarity session with me. So it's all in the service of you, learning how to build your sacred business and attracting your first clients. And it's only $97. So be on the lookout too for that, the link to that success kit. Settle, oh yeah, much more centered, accepting. Thanks, Joanne. Let me get one more and then we'll close. Acknowledge overwhelm and asking what's here. Yeah. Okay, good. Good, Marilyn. Yeah, what is it inside me that is disturbed? Yeah, usually we look to the disturbance. We look to the thing we think is responsible for the disturbance and we focus on that. But it changes everything up when we ask, what in me is disturbed? Where is the disturbance in me? And don't let it run the show, right? Yeah, beautiful. All right, let's close with some metta, shall we? We'll just bring a hand to our hearts. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. Bringing palms together in front of your heart. Namaste. Oh, good, the God box. You're welcome, Mackenzie. See you next week. I'll be here on Tuesday. Would love to see you back. Consistent practice is really important for all of us. So please be sitting every day. And I'll see you on Tuesday if you can come. And please feel free to make a donation. Really appreciate it. Just looking around the space, sending metta, love, blessings to everyone here. Have a beautiful rest of your day. You're welcome, Christy. Great to see you here. Namaste. Bye.